welcome to my next series of NOSS recording. So I have SDC and S client, and you all are aware that in my previous video, my S client and S server pings successfully. So if I go and say ipconfig, so it's 192.168.1.2. If I'm going to ping 192.168.1.1, which is my server, I get a successful ping. The same way when I go here, the IP config is 10.0.0.1, that's an external network, and I have 192.168.1.1, which is my internal network. If I'm ping 192.168.1.2, which is my client, it pings successfully. One thing I missed here is I didn't change my network adapter name here, so which I have to do now. So I go here, rename it as SW internal. So that's, I think I have it here as well, SW internal. Yeah, brilliant. So what I'm going to do now is we can again install another L server and L client, and then do the same process, repeat it again. There is another method as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click this, and I'm going to go to manage, and I'm going to use this option called clone, which means it is going to clone the exact machine setup which I have. So in this case, I'm going to clone my server. You cannot make a clone of a virtual machine that is powered on or suspended, right? So I have to go and power it off, shut down the guest here, and eventually I will also need to clone this, shut down the guest here as well. Right, yeah. So I go to my SDC manage. I'm going to clone it. Next, the current state or the existing state. So I'm not going to do the current state. Creating a linked clone from the cluster state, current state will create a new snapshot. All right. So it's powered off. It's powered off as well. Right. Manage, clone. Next. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So the current state of the virtual machine. Create a linked clone or a full clone. I'm going to go for a full clone because a linked clone will reference this SDC, which I don't want. I want an original virtual machine at its current state. So next, so what's the name of the virtual machine? It's L server. That's what I'm giving. And I don't want to save it in my documents here. Rather, I go to my PC and then I'm storing it locally in my VMs here. So I'm going to make a new folder. I say L server and I give OK here. Browse it's oops. Or rename L server. Yeah, okay, it's L server and it's cloning. After this cloning, we have to make a few tweaks as well. So because what it does is it's actually going to do the exact clone. It says preparing, creating full clone, and it's done. And here we have our L server. So something which I have to do is I have to go and change the IP addresses because it will be the same IP addresses. But before that, I want to also focus on the MAC addresses as well. So it's a D4AD here, right? So if I go to this machine And if I go to this, see here, it's D4AD. It's similar to the both MAC addresses are same, which would eventually have a problem for us. So what I'm going to do is I go here, advanced, and I'm going to generate another MAC address. So usually the MAC addresses are assigned for the network adapter, the NIC cards. So here I have made this change. So I go to the client here and do the same thing. I'm going to clone the client as well. The current state, full clone here. It's L client. So I'm going to use my VM, new folder, and the new folder is L client. Okay, finish. So it's going to clone. Let's wait for it to get cloned. It's cloned. I have a L client. I want to do the same thing as well. Go to this advanced settings, generate another MAC address. So let's move to this one. I have a VM network here and I have a VM net 2 here, right? So let's power the L server. It should have the same user credentials to go on. All right, let's see. Administrator. Give the password. I open the command prompt, ipconfig. It gives me the old or the IP address of SDC, so which I have to make changes. So I have a SW external, which I will be renaming as L external network, and this one I have to rename this as L internal. I go to the properties here, and then it's 10.0.0.2, and I go to this properties. It should be 192.168.2.1 because this is a 2.1 network. It's a 2.1 network. So checking the firewall. So run command. The firewalls are off. That's good because we cloned it. All right. The other thing is I go to the local server and it's the computer name is SDC, which I want to change it as L server. Still it is in my work group because I haven't created a domain. Okay, close, restart later. Anything else I want to change? No, let me restart it. At the same time, let's go to my client, power on my client machine. My SDDC, my client, both are powered on. Okay, continue, restart anyway. Here we go. So I have L user in both of my networks, which I have to make a change. So this is the L user in my S client, but it doesn't make any difference at the moment now. It takes a bit. Here we go. We logged in here. Just wanted to open my network adapters, and at the same time I will open my system. It's SW internal, which I'm going to rename as L internal. I think that's what we had there. It's L server. Quickly double check if it is L server. It's not a big difference. You can name it anything you want. That doesn't affect your network operations or functionalities, but it's just for our proper management. It's L internal, so we know what it is, right? So I go to the properties here. And it's 2.1, sorry, 2.2, and the default gateway is 2.1. It should now pick up the network. I go, yeah, here we go. Allow your PC. It's not S client anymore, it's L client. Next. Restart later. Let's check if things are working. So ipconfig, it's 192.168.2.10, so I'm going to ping 192.168.2.1, and here it pings. So I'm going to say ipconfig ping 192.168.2.2, and here we go, a successful ping. I'm going to ping the other side, which is 10.0.0.1. It's not pinging. It says destination host unreachable, but we still know that there is a 10.0.0.1, which is this server, but still here it says it's unreachable. Referring to my previous video, when I said when it is unreachable, it means that it doesn't exist. Here again, the same case here, because it's turned off, it may be the same error message, so you have to power it on. So I'm going to just check my capacity of my host machine. I'm going to power on all my 4 machines here. So let's see if I'm going to get any response. -D is to continuously ping. Here we go. You could see that now it gets a reply because the mission is turned on. So that's it. So we have all our 4 missions running. So I could see, we can check now. We can test whether all these things, this topology is ready for us to go. So first thing we have to check is connectivity between SDC and client. The second thing we check is LDC, L server and its client. And the third thing we check is between SDC and L server. These are 3 things which we have to check now. The client is loading, so let's go from here. So from client, I'm going to ping the server. It pings. From the server, I'm going to ping the client. It pings, which means my part 1, number 2, it's done. It both pings each other. Let's see the server and the DC if it pings. So I'm going to ping 10.0.0.1 and I get a successful ping. I go here. I'm going to ipconfig ping 10.0.0.2 and I get a successful ping, which means my 3 point is also working fine. Let's check SD and its client. So my client is here we go. It's here. Let's try to ping 192.168.1.2. Here we go. It pings. So obviously this will also ping. But anyways, let's confirm. I have ipconfig ping 192.168.1.1. Here we go. It pings, which means I have a successful connectivity between 3 networks here. So all set. So which eventually puts us here installing the operating system. We have done with this. So optimize the setup as per the infrastructure. I have optimized it for me. You can do it for yours. Configure the IP address and establish connectivity is done. Troubleshoot the network is done. So my first part is done. So what's the second part? We will continue the second part in our next series of video, where we will go for a firewall rules to allow ICMP traffic, install routing and remote services, add a site-to-site VPN, and move on further. Right?